A black girl calls a billionaire and says his son is unconscious on the street. The night city hummed like a living machine, sirens crying, tires whispering over wet asphalt, neon windows blinking tired eyes into the fog. In that restless noise, a small voice cut through with the force of a thunderbolt. "Hello, is this Mr. Bennett?" The title of this story is A Black Girl Calls a Billionaire and Says His Son is Unconscious on the Street. And from its very first breath, everything that happens will grow from that one call. A tall man in a glass boardroom stopped moving. Richard Bennett, king of numbers, owner of towers that scraped the clouds, felt something break inside his chest. His finger hovered over the glowing screen that said, "Unknown caller." He never answered those, but the tightness crawled around his ribs like a fist. He swiped, he spoke. He heard the girl, tiny and steady, as if standing in the rain and forcing her voice not to shake. "Sir, your son. Your son is on the sidewalk. He is bleeding. I think he hit his head. He won't wake up. Everything went white." The expensive room spun like a slow carousel. Richard's chair hit the glass wall with a hard bang. He did not apologize. He did not explain. Someone said, "Sir, you're in the middle of—" But he was already in the elevator, stabbing the roof code with a hand that was not steady. The helicopter blades found the wind. Manhattan slid under him like a map he no longer understood. All his power, his patents, his empire, his teams, meant nothing in this moment. Only the boy's small voice from that morning. Just 2 words. "Bye, Dad." He had not looked up from his tablet. He had said, He had told himself he would do better after the meeting, after the deal, after the next thing. But time has sharp teeth, and it had just taken a bite. The helicopter settled by the park. The air smelled like cold metal and damp leaves. Lights flashed red and blue. Richard ran, an old body remembering how, and saw the paramedics lift a small, limp shape. His son, Ethan. Pale face. Dark blonde hair stuck with blood. Lips parted. Eyes swelling like a closing door. "Ethan!" Richard's voice cracked and fell apart. "That's my son." He tried to climb into the circle of care. A medic lifted a hand, kind and firm. "Sir, please. We need space." Another medic said, "Strong pulse." "We move now." That was when Richard saw her. She stood 5 feet away, a little black girl in a red hoodie too big for her small shoulders. Her jeans were wet at the bottom. Her hands were raw from cold. She held a cracked phone like it was both sword and shield. She did not blink. Her eyes, wide and bright, were fixed on Ethan's face with a concern that burned. "Did you call me?" Richard asked because the words were all he had. She nodded. "Yes, sir. You stayed?" She nodded again. "I didn't want him to be alone." He reached for his wallet without thinking. Old habits. She stepped back like it was a hot stove. "I don't want money, sir." Her voice did not shake, but the cold made it thin. He stopped, the leather still in his hand. "What do you want?" She watched the flashing ambulance lights wash over her red hoodie like tide on stone. "I hoped someone would care enough to come." The sentence hit him like a sudden shove. For a moment he could not breathe. He took off his scarf and wrapped it around her. "I'll be okay," he told her when she looked troubled. "You saved my son." Sirens, doors, motion. "Mount Sinai, right?" He asked the medic. "Yes, sir." They moved. As the ambulance doors closed, the girl gave a small wave. Not big, not loud. Just real. And it burned a mark into Richard's heart he knew would never fade. At the hospital, machines blinked and sighed like tired stars. In a dim room that smelled like alcohol swabs and hope, Ethan slept under a thin blanket, the monitor counting each beat. Richard sat in a plastic chair that complained every time he shifted. He tried to speak to his son about nothing and everything. He told stories about a fishing trip they never took. He promised to go to Saturday soccer. He said he was sorry for missing last week's school play. He said sorry for missing the one before that, too. He ran out of words and sat in the quiet until a nurse with kind eyes said the best sentence in the world. "CT is clear. Mild concussion. No internal bleeding." Richard's bones softened. He said, "Thank you," like a thirsty man finding water in a desert. Hours later, his feet carried him to the lobby without asking him first. And there she was, the girl, huddled in a plastic chair, both hands around a paper cup of cocoa, the red hoodie now wearing his scarf like a warm promise. Her eyes lifted when he approached, and he heard himself speak with a softness he did not know he had. "He's stable," he said. "They think he'll be okay." She nodded once. "Good." "You didn't have to stay," he added, because he still could not understand it. "I know," she said. "Why did you?" She looked down at the cocoa. He looked scared. "I know what that feels like." He asked for a picture. She frowned. "May you what?" "Take your picture," he said, embarrassed by his own need. "So I don't forget the girl who did what no one else would." She tried to hide a smile and failed a little. He took it, just one click. The sound felt like a seal on a vow he had not made yet. Morning came like a shy guest. Soft light through high windows, the quiet clink of cups at the nurse's station, a cartwheel squeaking down a hall. Ethan woke, frowned, and said in a hoarse whisper, "Dad." It was a simple word, but it landed like a bell in Richard's chest. He leaned in, tears he did not know he had rising. "I'm here," he said. "I am here." The boy tried to sit up. "Easy," the nurse warned with a smile. When Ethan was drinking water, Richard finally asked the question that had been chewing at him all night. "What happened?" Ethan blinked. The fog moved in his eyes. He swallowed. "They wanted my sneakers," he said at last, small and ashamed. "They said if I didn't give them my shoes, they'd hit me. I said no. They laughed. They pushed me. I fell on the curb." He raised a hand to the bandage, winced. "They took my backpack. They were big, older." Richard felt a coldness that did not come from air vents. "How many?" "3. "Did they say anything else?" Ethan nodded. "They said, 'Tell your daddy this is interest.'" The words crawled across the room and wrapped around Richard's throat. He heard the echo of angry voices from the week before, an angry email about a new security program, a protest outside one of his buildings, a legal notice about layoffs at a factory he did not even know his company owned until he saw the headline, "Bennett Tech to automate assembly line. 300 jobs cut in spring." He had told himself it was efficient. He had told himself it was just numbers. But numbers wear faces in the real world. 3 boys on a sidewalk, a child bleeding. A girl who refused to walk away. The police came. A gentle female officer named Ruiz took notes while Ethan talked. She never rushed him. She said she would check cameras near the park. She promised they'd try to find the boys, even if they were minors. She asked for the girl's name. Richard realized he did not know it. Shame pricked him. He left Ethan's room and found the little girl back in the lobby folding his scarf carefully as if it were made of gold, as if she did not want to crease kindness. "I didn't want to take your scarf home," she said. "I just wanted to warm up a little." "You can keep it," he said, and it sounded like a poor trade for what she had given him. "What's your name?" "Anna," she said. "Anna Cole." "I'm Richard," he said uselessly as if she did not already know. "Officer Ruiz wants to thank you." Anna's small hands gripped the scarf nervously. I can't stay. My grandma's sick. I have to go back." "Let me drive you," he said immediately. "We can stop by the station after. Or tomorrow. Or—" She shook her head. "No, sir. It's okay." She looked down like a person who did not trust gifts because life had always asked for something painful in return. He took a breath. "Can I at least get you food?" "We have some," she said quickly, too quickly. He softened his voice. "Do you have socks?" She bit her lip. "Not dry ones." He ordered an Uber Black because that was the only tool he knew for getting people places. They rode through the city's waking traffic to a building with a cracked stoop, a faded mural of a sun on the wall. Stairwells smelled like boiled cabbage and cigarette ends. On the 4th floor, an old woman with a knit hat opened a door before Anne could knock. Her eyes took everything in at once. Grandmothers learn that skill early and never lose it. "Anna, you okay?" "Yes, Nana," the girl said, stepping in so the old woman could touch her face and count the freckles like blessings. Then the old woman saw Richard, a man in a coat that cost 3 months' rent. Her body went still. "Hello, ma'am," he said. "My name is Richard Bennett." Surprise and suspicion danced behind her eyes. "Bennett," she said. "From the papers?" Richard nodded. He felt the distance between their worlds like a wall with no door. "Your granddaughter helped my son last night," he said. "She saved him." The old woman looked at Anna, who looked at the floor. "Of course she did." Her voice was a mix of pride and scolding, the way love talks when it is tired and brave. "Come in," she told Richard, and he did, ducking under a doorway he had never imagined crossing. The apartment was neat in a way that took effort. Tidy blankets, clean dishes drying on a towel, a small plant bravely trying to be green on the windowsill. On the table sat 3 envelopes. One said rent, one said meds, one said nothing left but had a smiley face drawn on the corner like a wish. The old woman set out 2 mismatched cups. "I'm Denise," she said, "Anna's grandmother. Nice to meet you." He meant it. He had met heads of state who made less impression. They talked at the table while Anna fixed a loose hinge on the cabinet with a butter knife and a kind of careful focus that broke Richard's heart. He learned the father was not around. He learned the mother died when Anna was 3. He learned Denise cleaned offices until arthritis made her fingers swell and bend like twigs after a storm. He learned Anna brings home library books and reads them aloud in a small voice, carefully, like each syllable is a step on a narrow bridge. Denise did not complain, not once, but the truth hummed in the apartment like a second refrigerator. Life was heavy. Richard set his untouched cup down. "May I help?" he asked, the words strange on his tongue. "Sir," Denise said very gently, "rich men help themselves. Then they build a school with their name on it. I'm too old to be a school." He swallowed and nodded. "That's fair," he said. "But may I help anyway?" She watched his face for a long time and then nodded once, a queen giving permission. "You can buy groceries," she said, saving his pride by keeping the list small. "And socks," Richard added, his throat tight. Socks for Anna. The first turning point came in a place Richard had designed to make him feel powerful, his own office. He returned late that morning, hollow but burning. He walked past glass walls and perfect furniture, and straight into a meeting where someone was explaining a new software that would help companies optimize workforce decisions by predicting who would quit before they did. He looked at the slide, a curve drawn by a person who had never changed a bandage, and felt something ugly curl in his gut. "Turn it off," he said. The room froze. "Sir," someone said, confused. "Turn it off," he repeated. He closed the door. He told them about Ethan. He told them about 3 boys and a curb and blood. He told them about a girl who would not leave a stranger. "We build systems," he said, "but we are not systems. We are people. We keep forgetting." His voice dropped. "I am not forgetting again." He canceled a project that would have streamlined a factory. He called legal. He told them to find a way to slow down the layoffs, to retrain instead where possible, to create options that didn't crush families like soda cans. People told him it was bad for the quarter. He said he no longer cared about quarters. He cared about mornings, and who woke up in them. The second turning point came with a knock on his penthouse door that evening. Officer Ruiz stood there, hat in her hand. "We pulled cameras," she said. "We think we have your suspects." Richard's chest tightened. "Kids?" "Yeah," she said. 14, maybe 15. Not grown. Not small either. She shifted. "There's something else. One of them. He's the brother of a girl in your son's class." The air changed in the room. "Who?" "Her name is Jada," Ruiz said. "Her little brother's name is Kyrie. They live near the park. Dad was laid off last winter from a plant your venture fund owns a piece of." Richard closed his eyes. The room felt tilted. "Do we have proof?" "We have enough to bring them in," Ruiz said. "But before we do, I wanted to warn you. This will get messy." Richard nodded. "Thank you." He made tea he wouldn't drink and stared at the city while his brain ran hard. He remembered the protest sign outside his building last week that said, "People are not expenses." He remembered the comment under an article. Anonymous. Probably angry, Let's see how Mr. Cloud feels when the storm comes to his house." He thought of children agreeing to do stupid, cruel things because anger feels like power when you have none. He asked to go with Officer Ruiz when they visited Kyrie's apartment. She hesitated, then agreed, on the condition he said nothing that could poison the case. In a small living room with a couch sinking in the middle and a TV that was not new, a tired man stood with his hands squeezed into each other as if trying to keep them from shaking. Kyrie looked 12 and acted 30, his chin up, mouth flattened into a line that dared the world to press harder. Ruiz spoke softly, mostly to the father. "We have footage," she said. "We need to ask questions." The man looked at his boy and then at Richard, who did not hide his name. "You're the one who owns the building with the robots," the man said. "One of them took my job." Richard swallowed. "I own part of a fund that invested," he said, each word like a tooth to pull. "That is not the same as a robot taking your job," the man said. But the anger under his exhaustion was the same old storm, the kind that blows through generations and knocks down the same weak walls again and again. "My son did a stupid thing," he said finally, voice breaking. "But this world pushes stupid into your hands, then punishes you for holding it." Ruiz took Kyrie in without handcuffs. She promised he would see a youth officer who cared about second chances. That night, Richard sat on his couch and felt shame move through him like a tidal wave, and then felt something else behind it: duty. The third turning point sprang from a small idea that sounded simple, but was not. Build a bridge, not a press release. Richard called Denise and asked to borrow Anna for an afternoon. "No," Denise said at once. "She goes nowhere without me unless it's school." He loved that answer. "Then both of you," he said. "Come with me." He picked them up in a car that made Denise deeply uncomfortable. He took them to a warehouse he had not stepped inside for years, one of the first buildings his company had bought back when they sold sensors to shipping yards. On the way, he listened to Anna tell a story about a turtle she had found by the river and how she had carried it back to the water, even though it was not nice to her hands. "Why?" he asked. "Because it was scared," she said, "and because it didn't know the way back." In the warehouse, dust floated like tired snow. He met with foremen and coders and line workers. He asked what jobs had to stay human and what could be changed to make room for both people and the new machines. Together, they sketched a program that would sound boring in a headline but thrilling in real life. A retraining academy inside the company. No tuition. Pay while learning. A pathway from "I can't" to "I can" that did not require magic. He made calls. He spent money like water. He asked a small school nearby if they would help with math refreshers, reading support, and childcare for parents who were learning new things. He did not allow his PR team to attend. He did not want to be thanked on a stage. He wanted to be tired and useful and different by dinner time. On the day Kyrie had his youth hearing, Richard and Officer Ruiz sat in a hallway with plastic chairs and old posters about staying in school. The boy did not meet Richard's eyes. He looked like a cardboard cutout of defiance, but his fingers shook when he touched his shoelace. Jada sat beside her brother, chin high, anger hiding the heartbreak like a thin blanket over a fire. "He's not a bad kid," she said to no one, which meant she was saying it to everyone. "He likes math. He wants to make sneakers one day." Richard turned his head. "I know," he said gently. "I believe you." She frowned at him. "Why do you care?" He could have explained about a sidewalk and a phone call. He could have said the boy hurt his son. He could have returned anger for anger. Instead, he said a true thing. "Because a girl cared enough to wait with my boy when he was hurt. And because when one person cares, it's supposed to spread." Jada looked away first. In the hearing, the judge listened. Ruiz spoke clearly. She shared the footage. She talked about minors, about bad choices made in packs. She talked about the difference between punishment and a lesson that sticks. The judge sent Kyrie to a diversion program with community service, counseling, and mentorship. He was not labeled a criminal that day. He was given a hard path that still led somewhere brighter. At home, Ethan recovered slowly. Headaches, naps, a stubborn dream where the curb came fast and the world tilted. He told his father he was afraid to go back to the park. "That's normal," Richard said. "We will go together when you're ready." One afternoon, they did. They went to the court where the asphalt still wore a rusty stain that made Richard's stomach flip. Ethan stood very still. He closed his eyes. He opened them. He dribbled a ball. It bounced, rubber on concrete, and the sound was beautiful. Anna appeared at the edge of the court with a library book and a shy smile. She wore new socks with bright stripes. "You came," she said. "We said we would," Ethan answered. They played horse. Ethan missed on purpose once. Anna caught him. "Don't do that," she said. "Why?" "Because I'm not small," she said, "and because I don't need soft to feel strong." Richard watched his son laugh, and his heart learned a new beat. The story could end there, but it doesn't, because the best endings grow into new beginnings. Richard started going places he used to send other people to go, meetings with community boards, late-night sessions at the retraining floor where welders turned into robot techs and forklift drivers learned to dance with code. He asked Denise to advise on the childcare room. What toys, what chairs, what snacks do not make the afternoon feel like a gray box. He hired her for that work and paid her well, which made her suspicious until the second check arrived and nothing bad happened. He asked Anna to be the first reader for a small education corner they built by the break room, where notices were written in plain words and big letters so no one had to pretend they understood what they didn't. She sat at a small table with a sign that said, "Friendly help here," and explained forms with the same steady kindness she gave to a bleeding boy on the sidewalk. She corrected grammar softly, like petting a nervous cat. She told the tutors which steps were too big and needed smaller steps between them. She said, "Everybody learns different," like a law of physics. In time, Ethan went back to school. He wrote an essay titled "The Night I Didn't Wake Up," and his teacher cried reading it in the break room because it wasn't just about fear. It was about a girl in a red hoodie who refused to leave. He met Kyrie during a service day where kids painted a mural on the wall near the park. The first minutes were awkward and brittle. They painted in silence. Then Ethan said, "I like your outline," because it was true. Kyrie glanced over and said, "Your stars look like real stars." They stood shoulder to shoulder, painting a river that bent around a city. People passing by slowed down to stare. The river looked like hope. The city looked like it was listening. Jada added a bridge. Anna added a small turtle in the corner, half hidden but determined, making its way back to water. Months later, on an evening where the sky wore the soft blue of forgiveness, Richard stood outside a neighborhood center where the retraining program held its first ceremony. There were no caps and gowns, just clean shirts and wide smiles and hands that had learned new work without dropping the old story of who they were. A man spoke halting words into a microphone he was not used to holding. "I lost my job last winter," he said. "I thought I was done, but I learned machines talk, and now I talk back." Laughter, claps, a kind of joy that does not spike but rises slowly and fills the lungs. Richard found Denise beside the snack table, guarding the lemon bars. She nodded at the podium. "Not a bad thing you did," she said. "We did," he answered, because it was true. He looked for Anna and found her near the door, showing a younger kid how to hold a book so the pages don't glare under the light. He felt the exact same warm spike of gratitude he had felt the night she called him. He went over and waited until she finished helping. "There's something I haven't told you," he said. "What?" "The first night, after you called, I took your picture." She smiled. "I know," she said. "You asked." He nodded. "I look at it some days, when I forget. Then I remember again." She shrugged like it was nothing, which made it everything. "Just don't forget for long," she said. "Okay, okay," he promised. "I won't." On the anniversary of that night, they all met at the court. Not to relive pain, but to measure the distance traveled since. The autumn air was cool and clean. The city noises felt less like a roar and more like a song with many parts. Sirens, birds, a bus releasing a sigh, a distant radio. Ethan brought a new ball. Anna brought a book to trade. The Wild Robot, with a sticky note that said, "This robot has feelings. Don't forget machines can be kind if people are." Kyrie brought his first pair of shoes he had designed on paper. Marker colors bright, lines careful, a dream standing up to look at itself. Jada brought a camera and took pictures of everyone. A billionaire with his tie off, a grandmother with strong eyes and softer hands, a boy and girl who had been children 1 year ago and were still children, but now also something more. Ruiz dropped by with coffee and a smile that said, "I see you." They played until dusk. When they left, the court looked exactly the same. But it wasn't. Things had been planted there now, memories like seeds. That night, in his quiet apartment, Richard opened a blank document and wrote 5 rules for himself. They were simple. 1. Answer the phone. 2. Go to the place. 3. Look at people, not charts, when making choices that touch their lives. 4. Ask Anna. 5. Be the father you would want if you were small and scared. He printed the rules and taped them to the inside of his closet, where only he would see, because this was not for show. It was for mornings when the old habits came back like a dark tide. I promised you a story with a strong lesson, and here it is, plain as a streetlight on a foggy night. Kindness is not a soft thing. It is a strong door. A stranger can open it. A child can hold it. A man who forgot can remember and walk through. This tale began with a title you could hear like a siren. A black girl calls a billionaire and says his son is unconscious on the street. And it ends with a promise whispered in a warm lobby, written on a wall with turtle paint, carried in the pocket of a red scarf shared between friends. If you ever see someone alone on the sidewalk, do not walk away. Call. Stay. Hold their hand until help comes. And when you have power, spend it like a blanket, not a weapon. That is how a night full of fear can become a map back to each other. That is how the title that started in panic can close in peace. A black girl calls a billionaire and says his son is unconscious on the street.